morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and here is your Australian weather outlook for March 29th, 2025. Low pressure still dominating the scene over in Queensland and New South Wales, with heavy to locally intense rainfall spreading across southeastern Queensland and a lot of north-central New South Wales this morning, and we're waking up to some pretty significant rainfall accumulations. As you can see on the radar and satellite imagery map right now, over the last 12 hours, rainfall and showers have been very persistent across interior parts of New South Wales, and widespread accumulations since 9 a.m. we're up to around that 70 to 80 millimetre mark for locations around Tamworth, Armidale, Moree, Lightning Ridge, Woolgate, and other locations in the surrounding areas. Rainfall is continuing to pile on as this low pressure system tracks across the Queensland-New South Wales border now, and you can see as it approaches Lightning Ridge and then down towards Woolgate. This low pressure system is now rapidly moving towards the southeast, and whilst it is still got a lot of rain to dump, it's going to be getting out of Australia pretty quickly. I'll get to the details in the forecast surrounding this low pressure system because it could provide some pretty significant rainfall accumulations to southeastern Victoria and also parts of New South Wales in a later part of the forecast update. But we want to be talking about the rainfall that's immediately on the forecast now across southeastern and south central Queensland, especially through the Sunshine Coast and then down into the Brisbane metro area. Overnight rainfall accumulations up around that 250 millimetre mark have been reported north of Gympie, up around I believe it's the Mount Perry sort of area south of Bundaberg. My geography is really shoddy around here right now. The rainfall has been very heavy though, that's one thing for sure. Rainfall accumulation has been widespread above that 150 millimetre mark, with a few observations up around that 250 millimetre mark. So the rainfall has been very heavy and it's continuing to stream in right now. That's because we've got a combination of that moisture coming in from the northwest rather, and then from the northeast we've got a convergent zone and plenty of moisture coming in from the Coral Sea, and as such we're just seeing these convergent zones meet, and so much water is coming out of the sky at this point. There's so much evaporation, so much cloud activity, and the Sunshine Coast is really going to be in the thick of it throughout the remainder of today. I'm not sure why this satellite and radar imagery is going to be a slideshow, but you can see, especially through the later hours of last night, widespread moderate heavy falls up around that 50 millimetre an hour mark were being reported outside of the Childers and Harvey Bay, and the heaviest falls around the thunderstormy parts of these low pressure areas that are beginning to develop out of this convergent zone were up around that 70 to 80 millimetre an hour mark. So there is some very heavy rainfall embedded in these showers and thunderstorms, and they're very slow moving as well. I mean, as you can see over the last 12 hours, this radar and satellite loop wants to load in and not be a slideshow. Whilst the rainfall has been moving in from the northeast, it's been very slow moving and pretty much stagnant in terms of its motion. It has eased off temporarily this morning, but we are expecting a return to the showers and thunderstorms throughout later parts this morning. Generally speaking though, the showers and thunderstorms will be easing off from about now and then contracting towards southeastern Queensland and northeastern New South Wales, with some isolated heavy falls are expected to turn into widespread heavy falls later on this morning into early this afternoon for parts of the Sunshine Coast and into northeastern New South Wales. However, for the most part, it looks like rainfall will clear out of southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales by later on tonight, by around 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and for the most part, rainfall is not looking to be returning for the next couple of days at least. A few showers here and there, of course, as usual for this time of the year, but in terms of significant rainfall, nothing beyond what we're expecting throughout this morning and into early this afternoon can be expected across southeastern and south central Queensland. They have had some very good dumps of rainfall, that's for sure. Widespread falls between 50 and 100 millimetres along the coast between Rockhampton, Billawheeler, and then down towards Bundaberg, and then that turning to 150 to 250 millimetres over the last 48 hours for locations between Bundaberg right down to Lismore in the northeast of New South Wales. A lot more rainfall than what was initially forecast. It should have been a little bit more obvious to the forecast models and forecasters like myself that there was more rainfall materialising than what the forecast models were actually suggesting. The conditions are pretty good for rainfall here, and we are talking about tropical rainforest rainfall here, so again, the rainfall generally speaking is a lot heavier than what the forecast models sometimes predict. There is still some heavy showers ongoing, so make sure you are staying safe. There will be some floodwaters, and already we're seeing major flooding through areas around the Gympie River sort of area, so again, make sure you are playing it safe and playing it cool, calm and collected during this rainfall. It's not going to cause widespread major flooding, but we do expect widespread minor to moderate flooding to eventuate here. It is of course too late to prepare, however river levels will be approaching their maximum right now, and whilst some minor flooding and some minor inundation can be expected to low-lying communities, it isn't expected to be as widespread or as problematic as the inundations seen from Tropical Cyclone Alfred and the rainfall that came in after that landfall there. So yeah, play it safe, play it cool, calm and collected throughout the remainder of today, but rainfall shouldn't be too problematic beyond about lunchtime, and water levels will be pretty quick to recede by the looks of things flowing out to sea with the outgoing tide. Just before I get down in towards New South Wales, can you see these white areas here on the map here that are kind of tracing kind of snake patterns here that move through Windora? They're quite faint, and they're probably going to come up quite faint on the video, but where the cursor is circling right now, Windora, that's not cloud, that's floodwaters. I think this should give everybody an idea of just how widespread these floodwaters are. Pretty much an inland sea has opened up around Windora, so south of Longreach pushed through Windora down towards Mumba, basically in northwestern South Australia, northeastern South Australia rather. They've basically opened up into rivers at this point. This is how much water has moved in to these locations, and the rivers have very quickly become inland seas, and this is the case down through Ermanga and then Quilpie and Addervale as well, but Windora in the absolute thick of it at this point here, and then out towards Bedore as well. Very significant floodwaters moving through those areas. So I hope that gives people an idea of just the magnitude of these floods here that they're registering on satellite imagery, and even if you zoom right out and encompass all of Australia in the picture here, minus Tasmania, you can still see these floodwaters quite definitively as well. I'm having no problem seeing them from my view here. I do hope that what you're seeing is what I'm seeing here, but some really significant floodwaters have moved through this part of southwestern Queensland. It has been crazy, that's for sure. Anyways, I just thought I'd interrupt with that on the Queensland side of things, but let's talk New South Wales now. More rainfall and thunderstorms expected to be moving throughout the remainder of today. The rainfall will be easing off over the next couple of hours, and it will be very quick to ease off by the looks of things, contracting to the northeastern coast and the north central coast between Sydney and Taree throughout the later hours of this afternoon and then into this evening. The rainfall pretty much clearing out by early tomorrow morning around Newcastle and Taree. This low pressure system is then going to get itself out into the Tasman Sea by the looks of things, and it's going to intensify quite quickly as what we would refer to as a bomb cyclone here. It's really going to intensify quite quickly and become what is looking like a pretty powerful east coast low type system here, but it will be moving quite quickly away from the New South Wales coastline, so it's not expected to be too problematic, but we're certainly expecting a pretty strong low pressure system out offshore from New South Wales here. It's going to have some very strong winds and some really heavy rainfall in it as well, and residual showers and thunderstorms can be expected through Sunday night into Monday and Tuesday, which will bring a bit of a welcome cool change to parts of New South Wales as well, especially down into the southeastern corner of New South Wales. A bit of a cool change can be expected, and we will be seeing some pretty cool temperatures and some very cold winds move through on Monday and into Tuesday as well, the first day of April. It will actually be quite cold by the looks of things on April 1st in the morning there. Temperatures expected to be in the low single digits across some of the more higher communities through southeastern New South Wales and northeastern Victoria, but this low pressure system here is certainly going to pack a punch, and it is a good thing that it is not going to be getting itself over New South Wales or close to the coastline, because it will certainly be causing a few problems there. In terms of rainfall accumulations, you can see on top of what has already fallen, a further 50 to 80 millimetres is possible around the Barrington Tops and the Tamworth area. That's the locations that are expected to be the wettest are in those in that general vicinity right now, but you can see on the radar imagery the showers, whilst they are remaining heavy south of Narrabri and north of Coolah, the rainfall there is certainly averaging moderate heavy falls. It is moving through quite quickly, and it's only expected to persist for another couple of hours. So as such, the maximum amount of rainfall that I foresee throughout the remainder of today is about 125 millimetres, with more widespread accumulations between 25 and 75 millimetres being expected in this general vicinity here. Locations such as Lightning Ridge, Woolgate, Coonamble and out towards Narrabri, rainfall accumulations shouldn't be too much heavier or too much more on what has already been falling in those locations, and then other locations further inland such as Wanaringburg, Cobar, Wilcannia, Broken Hill, there's really no more rainfall that can be expected in those locations. But yeah, further 50 to 125 millimetres can be expected around the Barrington Tops and along the New South Wales central coastline north of Sydney up to Kempsey and Taree. Rainfall accumulations, though, for the most part will be somewhere between that 25 to 75 millimetre mark, so nothing too significant, especially for this part of New South Wales. It's the type of stuff that happens multiple times a year. 75 millimetres will certainly be on the heavier side of things and will cause some pretty big puddles and maybe some minor flooding in locations, but it's not expected to be problematic at this point. New South Wales really has dodged a bullet in terms of rainfall. They didn't really get too much in the way of rainfall when just across the border they were seeing week-long rainfall dumps there up to 600 millimetres, so New South Wales really dodged a bullet there. And whilst flooding can be expected in the next couple of days throughout the extreme northwestern corner of New South Wales and into the extreme northeastern corner of South Australia, it is not going to be anywhere near as problematic as those floods ongoing in southwestern Queensland. That has been significant, that's for sure, and there's no other way to put it. That's kind of just the way it is. Those floods have been historic, that's for sure, and they'll go down in history. 2025 certainly being one of the worst flooding events that southwestern Queensland has seen in their history. Anyways, let's keep it on Queensland right now. Still quite a bit to talk about. We've got rainfall up in the northwest, the northeastern parts of Queensland, far north Queensland. I completely butchered the name up there. There is a little bit of rainfall coming in the later part of the forecast period. For the most part over the next week or so, there's not an awful lot on the forecast. There will be a few showers and thunderstorms throughout the next couple of days across the Cape York Peninsula, which will extend into the northwestern parts of Queensland through the Mount Isa and the McKinley area. They will be pretty sporadic, so again, rainfall accumulations for the most part, whilst they will be heavy for a few places and could cause cause some problems in terms of short, sharp bumps to river levels, but they're not expected to be widespread enough to open up the flooding emergencies up there, and the water levels that are now beginning to recede should continue to recede, whilst there will be intermittent rises and intermittent halts in the falling of these river levels up through northern Queensland. It isn't expected to be too problematic, that's for sure. More rainfall can be expected along a trough line, but it will be more concentrated into tropical areas of Queensland that can cope with more rainfall. However, I'm seeing on Tuesday and Wednesday the chance of some more showers and thunderstorms through the Winton and the Matabara area, extending out towards Thursday and even Friday, so this might become a little bit of a problem, and you can see on the rainfall accumulation map through here throughout the early parts of next week. I'm not sure why it's not willing to load in here, but you can see rainfall accumulations over the next week or so, including Thursday and Friday, could be up around that 50 to 75 millimetre mark around Winton, and then further accumulations up to around 150 millimetres could be expected north of Hughenden, up towards Maxwellton, Georgetown and Croydon, so we will be keeping a close eye on those at this point in time. But again, I don't really see this rainfall as being too problematic. Whilst a 50 millimetre dump in an hour will cause some problems to some of the river levels through here and some of the catchments that are just beyond flooded, I don't really see rainfall accumulations to be heavy in short, sharp periods of time. They will be pretty persistent. This rainfall here really tickling what I'm kind of considering between problematic and non-problematic, but at this point here, I just want to err on the side of caution and say, watch the forecast quite closely and stay tuned for more information on this. Monday and Tuesday I'll have some definitive answers on what's expected, but at this point I don't think it's too much of a concern, the rainfall that we're seeing over the next couple of days, especially through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. I don't really think that this rainfall is going to be too concerning for North Queensland. And then into far North Queensland, the winds are going to turn around for the southeast by around Friday the 4th of April, and we will be seeing a return to showers and thunderstorms through next weekend, Sunday and Monday the 6th and 7th of April respectively, and showers and thunderstorms expected to be persistent up there throughout the first out towards the second week of April. For North Queensland, whilst not a lot of rainfall is on the forecast there, it will quickly add up and we could be seeing rainfall accumulations through the first 2 weeks of April up around that 300 to 400 millimetre mark. So again, the wet season is not over and people do need to remain vigilant. More showers and thunderstorms are expected up there right out through April and into early May. The wet season doesn't properly pipe down up in far North Queensland. Showers and thunderstorms can still be seen right out towards June or July out there. We can't be writing off some showers from the southeast in those locations. But anyways, in terms of the Queensland weather forecast, that is pretty much it for today. It's been an extended one. Thank goodness that the flooding situation is over, but well, the rainfall is over, but the flooding situation is still ongoing across southwestern Queensland, and my thoughts lie with all of those affected and impacted by the floods over in southwestern Queensland. We have two tropical cyclones to talk about as well. A surprise one? Well, not really. Tropical cyclone Dianne has just made landfall on the northwestern coast of the Kimberley region. You can see, in fact, pretty much right on the top of Derby, and it was an absolute home run of a forecast from the Bureau of Meteorology. They nailed this tropical cyclone. I don't think they got a single thing wrong here in terms of landfall intensity, landfall location, peak wind speeds. They absolutely nailed this one, so it was a hit out of the park. Very happy to see that, and it does give a lot of people comfort in knowing that the official agencies can get the forecasts absolutely bang on. So again, hats off to the Bureau of Meteorology. They did better than everybody else here. Derby is currently being impacted by tropical cyclone Dianne. Cyclone force winds moving through Derby or just towards the east of Derby. You can see that eye wall just beginning to build here. It rapidly intensified right up towards landfall, which was also always going to happen just considering the warm sea temperatures here, and it really is looking like a robust system. If this had another 24 hours over land, we'd be talking over water, we'd be talking about a much different landfall situation here, probably of around category 4 strength proportions. Tropical cyclone Dianne was going places. It was just so happened that it was actually going into the Kimberley coastline, and as such that's ruined its intensification train. Broome not expected to receive any impacts beyond a few showers throughout the remainder of today. You can see winds aren't overly strong in the Broome area. Showers and rainfall will be widespread through parts of the southwestern Kimberley region throughout the remainder of today, and showers and storms expected to be heavy into the northeastern corner of the Pilbara region, north of Curracurra and between Curracurra and Balgo through late Sunday and in towards Monday. We could be seeing some isolated heavy falls there, and then the remnant energy of tropical cyclone Dianne will be dispersed over the Northern Territory, where some heavy falls could be expected through Monday and Tuesday. Nothing too crazy in the way of rainfall, which will then get sucked over in towards Queensland, so technically speaking, Dianne is actually going to have a bit of an impact on the Queensland flooding situation over there. It should be a very minimal impact, though. The rainfall accumulations over the Northern Territory and parts of Western Australia could be anywhere between out to 50 to about 300 millimetres of rainfall throughout the first couple of days of this coming week. You can see peak accumulations when that low pressure system begins turning towards the east will be up around that 300 millimetre mark. Widespread falls between 50 and 150 millimetres can be expected, like I said, with those isolated falls up to 300 millimetres possible over extremely remote parts of the Pilbara area, in fact uninhabited locations of the Pilbara region. Not expected impacts for the mining communities as well around Nullagine, Telfer, Marble Bar beyond a few showers, so that is good news there. Impacts have been very minor from tropical cyclone Dianne, when it actually could have been a whole lot worse if it had another 24 hours over water water, that's for sure. Tropical cyclone Courtney is also going places as well. You can see the tropical cyclone overnight has squeezed out a well-defined eye, and it's really trying to keep that going on. You can see the tropical cyclone now continuing rapid intensification. It's certainly deserving of Category 4 status, that's for sure, and in fact it looks like it might be trying to intensify a little bit more at this point. It really is putting on knots at a rate of knots, and we can't be riding off a Category 5 peak from tropical cyclone Courtney, although time is ticking. It's only got the remainder of this weekend to get up towards that elusive Category 5 status, and this tropical cyclone is racing to get there, that's for sure. Conditions are good for this tropical cyclone, but they're not overly great at this point in time. You can see sea temperatures where the tropical cyclone is located. Tropical cyclone Courtney looking reasonably healthy at 28, pushing 29 degrees in places, but as you get further south where this tropical cyclone is slowly headed over the next couple of days, they do drop down to about 26 or 27 degrees, so a little bit worse for tropical cyclone Courtney. Again, this system not a threat to West Australia at all, so there's no need to be panicking, no need to be worrying as a result of this tropical cyclone here. It's just that late season, long track, very strong and powerful tropical cyclone that we see pretty much every year, well offshore from the WA coastline. It has absolutely no interest in us, and that is why we're not talking about it much in the forecasting or in the forecast models, but I imagine you'll be seeing a couple of posts out of it here and there, especially over on Facebook. It is quite a pretty system, that's for sure, in West Australia, certainly in Cyclone Town right now. Sea temperatures as well looking pretty healthy around Western Australia, so if another tropical cyclone wanted to come and make the most of that, it certainly well and truly could, and we're not piping down in tropical cyclone activity until late April, so it is very important to remain vigilant over in Western Australia. Even though that wet season is now coming to a close and the rainfall beginning to ease off for parts of WA, it certainly is important to remain vigilant, that's for sure. In terms of those temperatures as well, it'd be very good if they began to die off as well across the southwest of Western Australia. It's been stifling hot over the last couple of days, and again, staring down a top into the high 30s once again today for the Perth metro area. It's just way too hot, that's for sure, and for some reason my air conditioner on my car just does not want to work when it is hot, which is quite unfortunate because I was going to take it in for a regas last week, but I didn't think that it was going to be a hot week or really hot for a long period of time, and then look at this, bam, we've been shoved into an 8 or 9 day heat wave at this point. I think it's day 7 and we've got the remainder of this weekend of some hot days, so if you want to get yourself down to the beach, certainly would be a good time to do it. Should be a little bit cooler tomorrow, but much more pleasant beach weather, that's for sure. Might even be a little bit of cloud coming in from the eastern winds likely to be on that offshore, so it will actually be a nice day for the beach. Generally speaking, you're not going to get cremated and you could spend a few more hours than you normally would there. It's going to be a warm one with that warm breeze coming out of the eastern. Temperatures should be a little bit more milder before they warm up again on Monday, by the looks of things up into the mid-30s again for Tuesday the 1st of April, and then finally it looks like they drop down a little bit through Wednesday and Thursday. That west coast trough is stubborn to remove itself until Friday the 4th of April. Finally it looks like from then on those temperatures do begin to drop off properly for an extended period of time. It will still be mid to high 20s throughout the remainder of April in the southwest of Western Australia, but that's just much better than mid to high 30s that we've been seeing over the last week, so it has been very warm down in the southwest of Western Australia. Looking forward for this heat to remove itself, that's for sure, remove itself from the forecast. That is for sure, very excited for that day. Rainfall accumulations over the next 5 days as well, nothing interesting across WA, minus a few thunderstorms on Sunday and Monday. As showers and thunderstorms are non-existent for South Australia, same for the the western half of Victoria rather. I don't know why I'm scrambling that up so much today. And New South Wales as well, rainfall expected to dry off after today. Tasmania as well looking high and dry, so it looks like we're not going to be talking about cold fronts or rainfall for the next week or so. It is really looking like that high pressure system is going to dominate in the Great Australian Bight and prevent any low pressure activity from touching the parched areas around in South Australia and Victoria. They do desperately need that rainfall, and it cannot come soon enough for them. But still, a very tropical picture on the 5-day rainfall accumulation map here, and even if we push it out to the 10-day, it's still looking really summery across much of WA, the NT, and in towards Queensland and New South Wales as well. More showers and thunderstorms expected, more rainfall can be expected, but that is all from me today. Thank you so much for watching to everybody. If you haven't already, then please consider liking the video and subscribing as well. The support lately has been much appreciated, and I cannot thank everybody enough. Stay safe over in Queensland. My thoughts are with you if you've been impacted by the flooding situation over there. My thoughts and prayers are with everybody impacted over there, and same with New South Wales as well. With the rainfall coming through, make sure you are staying safe, staying calm, and if it is flooded, forget it. But that is all from me today. A special shout out to the channel sponsors, that their names are on screen right now, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.